Longevity isn't luck, folks. It's a lifestyle built on awareness, habits, culture, and intention. So welcome to the Age with Intention podcast, where we explore how people around the world live longer, stronger, think clear, and age with purpose. So today's episode might just make you look at your teeth or feel your jaw, and it might change your thoughts completely on how TMJ works. Okay, so my guest today is a biohacking walking experiment, and as reading about you pretty much tells me that, and someone that's been in chronic pain for about 5-10 years. And I would like to know your story on how you got out of that. I read some of your articles and I think a podcast, and I think you threw out a newsletter saying that you were pretty much chronic for 5 years, and then all of a sudden something magical happened, which you're going to explain. And this all happened without a gym, without diets, right? So let's find out what it's all about. Ken Lieber, welcome to the show. Let's start with your story.
Yeah, so my story, I would start back. I'm 49 years old. I'm American originally, but I live in Thailand. I started having tightness in my jaw, neck, and upper shoulders probably when I was in my early 20s. I think it was related to taking my wisdom teeth out. Anyway, all throughout my 20s and 30s, I was going to either various types of therapists, I was doing a lot of physio, chiro, acupuncture, you name it, I tried it because I was always tight. My voice felt really tight and I felt very tired, and I just knew something was wrong. So, this continued for 15 years, averaging 2 medical visits a week. It was just a part of my life that I was trying to figure this thing out. Yeah, I'd been to like pretty much every department in a hospital. Thought it was neurological department. Tried Botox. Thought it was gastro, GERD for a while, and so was doing that. So anyway, I tried many things, and then I was living in Ukraine in 2013, going for a normal kind of medical cleaning checkup, dental cleaning. And the dentist says, hey, I think you might have TMJ. You might want to go check out this TMJ dentist. So I did. And the guy that I went to this other dentist, and he made some kind of flat splint, that dentists make. And it was amazing because everything went away. This 15, 20-year issue.
Simple mouth guard.
Yeah, it was a custom one, sat on my lower teeth, and he would adjust it with a drill. So he would he was using articulating paper, and I'd buy it, and he'd adjust the contacts, and it seemed like magic to me. I didn't know anything back then. Anyway, I was doing that, and I was feeling great for a while. And then this was in 2013, 14, when Ukraine.
This is in Kiev.
This is in Kiev,
Ukraine.
Yeah. So Ukraine was going into its first war. So I was working somewhere where they were shutting down because budget was getting cut for the war and stuff. And so I had found a job in Vietnam in e-commerce. I was an e-commerce guy. So I moved to Vietnam. My wife was pregnant with our first son. We get to Vietnam. I chew through this thing that the dentist made within the first month or so. And so I go to a Vietnamese TMJ dentist and I say, hey, make me the same thing. And so I found one that made me something a bit similar, but I felt weird and some of the tightness was coming back. So I said, all right, this isn't working. What else can you do? And so this TMJ dentist says, all right, he shows me this certificate from Australia for TMJ, whatever. And he says, listen, I'm going to adjust your teeth because I got to adjust your dental contacts. So I thought this stuff was magic. I didn't know anything. And I'm sitting there playing with my phone, and the guy's drilling for at least half an hour on my back teeth mainly. And I didn't think anything of it, left. Within a couple weeks, I started feeling really bad. And then it got really bad. So I basically I lost all my short-term memory. I had to, within a few weeks, I had to ask to be demoted 2 levels in my job because I just didn't function.
Mercury poisoning or what? That's brutal there.
My brain just didn't work. If you told me something, it was out of my head 5 minutes later. The brain just felt like it was shutting down. And I was having almost daily anxiety attacks. I felt like a hermit. My neurological system was very strange. I didn't want to get out of the house. I forced myself to go out of the house just for work. But on the weekends, I just want to stay home. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I felt and I was a pretty social guy my entire life up to that point. Plus, my vision started going dull. My neck and my body was changing for the worse very rapidly. I wasn't able to sleep. So all these things went very rapidly wrong. And this is when I'm 37 years old. I'd always been a relatively healthy guy, trying to go to the gym 3 or 4 times, like taking all the supplements. And I was doing all that stuff still. So I was like, what? Like the only thing that's changed is this dentist that drilled my back teeth, right? So I knew that there was something dental about it. And I started researching, and like I just felt like I was in this almost like vegetative state for almost 6 months. So like the only thing that gave me hope was Googling at night to try to find what is going wrong with me. And I found something called Styrecta in 2014, which was his DIY, some Italian guys. He'd written an ebook, and it sounded a bit like my story. He's like, all right, I got nothing to lose. And you made your own splint, a bit like what the dentist had made for me. And so I go and do that, and I started feeling better. And I was about to leave. I was about to quit my job several times because I just felt so awful. And I stuck it out, and I started feeling better. And so that's when I consider that I got into this game of what I now call dental biomechanics. And this thing that I was doing, Styrecta, was not perfect, like it was flawed. It took me like another year or two to realize that. It got me out of my initial symptoms, but like other things were getting worse. And so I was iterating on myself with DIY splints that I was making since 2014. And I was trying different kinds of mouth guards. So a dentist had given me my first Meyer brace mouth guard in early 2016, and so I was always using that on and off. And then later on I started trying ALF, which is this other appliance that dentists use, and so I was seeing a dentist in the US for ALF. So I tried many things, and a lot of my progress in 2016-17 was the stuff I was doing on my own. And I realized later on that I was right about like some of the things I had concluded on my own experiments. And so to make a long story short, like I figured that I totally figured out the rules to how this works in 2021. And basically like what I concluded goes something like this, which is a little bit like far reaching, but I basically concluded like the skeleton, like the soft tissue, which includes the skin, the fascia, like whatever's covering bone and muscle on the human body, kind of inflates and deflates like a balloon almost. You can think of it like an inflatable wetsuit, right? And it deflates based on some biomechanics, which I like to almost think of as physics, like an inanimate structure, right? Like a building, right? Like a building can collapse if you take out, if you do damage to the structural supports. And teeth are part of the important structural supports to preventing this deflating, right? And if the soft tissue deflates, it basically crushes your skull, deranges the cranial bones, and mangles your skeleton, right? And so what I realized is that I think that all that aging and disease are downstream effects of this deflating collapse. And that because it's just physics and that the teeth are like play this important role of structural support, you can actually reverse this process, right? And so like that was my story for those 10 years is I was like, I'd do something and make myself better for a while, and like my cognitive and my neurological function would improve. I would look better. And then I was like experiment something else, and I would start to get worse. And so I kind of was like fixing and then screwing myself up numerous times. But then I finally realized like the only 2 rules that you actually need are you need to put something that adds height on your teeth, right? Like you could either put something directly on your teeth like dental cement, or you can like wear a flat mouth guard. So you got to add height, and you got to unlock how the upper and lower teeth come together, because usually the upper and lower teeth on a human like come together in this kind of locking position, which prevents things from moving. So like you got to unlock it so that your cranial bones and your jaw can move. But basically, like if something like a flat mouth guard, you put it in, like it essentially starts reversing this collapse process, right? And I figured out how this works by end of 21. It's been about 5 years, and like literally, like I'm getting better across every single parameter. And I don't like, there's nothing where I see that, okay, like aging is still happening. Like literally everything that is associated with age, like I had a bald spot, my hair is thickening, like my complexion, I got rid of all my wrinkles. Like I'm able to work 14 hours a day, almost 12 to 14 hours a day. Like I haven't taken a day off in 2 years. I feel like I'm 22 years old again.
Wow. And this happened 2014 to 2021, basically.
2020. Well, I was iterating on myself.
Right. And then
I was doing all
you got it.
End of 2020, I got it. I was like, okay, now I understand why I got worse each of those. Like I realized some of the flaws in my logic. And so since late 21, I'm getting better. And I also applied this to my son, who was a mouth breather. He was 7 years old. Like we were fighting it for a while, trying to get him to use mouth guards and stuff. But we basically put flat dental cement on his back teeth in 2021. And he was a mouth breather, sleep disrupted breathing. He was going to have crowding. Like all his baby teeth were on top of each other. Now, like everything's perfect. Like wide arches, skeleton took off, tallest kid in his class, got rid of the sleep issues, got rid of the mouth breathing, and he's got like a deeper voice than any kid in his class. Like, so it's yeah. So basically, like I did this on myself, and I also kind of applied it to my kid because I saw him struggling.
Wow. And you said, so now you're 49.
Yeah.
And so you went through, since this happened in 2021 when you finally had it all figured out. So you must have gone through that pandemic, the COVID, and probably didn't get sick even because I think I read something where you say you for like 5 years without getting sick, right?
Yeah, so I was not in good shape in 2020. 2020 was already COVID. That was one of my worst years because wasn't wearing anything for a while. I was working a stressful job, and I was like, I just put this stuff on the back burner. And then I had to pull myself out of that job in late 2020, so it was COVID. But then from the time I figured this out in late 21, so it was around fall of 21, I haven't gotten sick since that time. And I think I work more than like any 20-year-old I know. Like I work like I'm an investment banker in New York now. Like weekends I'm working every time. I eat whatever I want. I haven't stepped foot in a gym in over 5 years. And like this isn't just some crazy story about me. Like over 40,000 people have bought a Reviv mouth guard. I've gotten positive feedback about fixing all kinds of chronic issues. I estimate from 3,000 or 4,000 people at least at this point, right? And these are just the people that have told me. So like this stuff is replicating. Like we're fixing postural issues, TMJ, chronic headaches. Like we're fixing how people look and their symmetry, right? Like, and it's already, like how many people get 3,000 or 4,000 people fixing chronic issues?
Yeah, that's amazing because I've seen the mouth guard and you call it Revive, right? But it's
Yeah,
Reviv, and I've seen the testimonials and I'm like, I got to get this guy on here because could it be any type of mouth guard? But as you explained, no, you got to figure it out because I mean, we see mouth guards out there, right? And if they were all doing that same breakthrough, then we'd be hearing it a lot more.
Yeah, actually, so there's a lot of mouth guards that actually do work, but there's a couple things as to why I think like we haven't figured this out to this extent, right? So first of all, like a lot of dentists make these custom bruxism teeth grinding mouth guards, which they fit and they mold to your bottom teeth. But with this process, the teeth are moving every day. So you cannot wear anything that holds the teeth where they are because that defeats the purpose. Like, the teeth, something like 70% of a tooth is sitting inside bone, right? And your cranium, like if you ever looked into osteopathy, there's like 27 cranial bones, there's the jaw. So your teeth are sitting, your lower teeth are sitting in the jaw, upper teeth are sitting in these different cranial bones, part of the upper palate. And these things are moving, right? And so therefore you need to allow, like if the bone moves, the tooth moves. And so like one of the things I was experimenting back in the day was like I was doing yoga and I'd see like any little exercise I did, I was using articulating pain, I would see that the teeth would move. So you can't do anything that locks the teeth where they are because the whole point is getting the teeth to move. And the teeth move anytime the spine changes, the skeleton.
So yeah, it's like movement, like going for walks. Yeah, and I understand because the fascia, I mean, you have the fascia that's everywhere in the body. You have the skull, it does still move, even though we think it's just a solid structure, right? And I could see the vertebrae taking action. So it's like pulling either it's caving down as time goes by, or you're going to maintain the structure by kind of retrofitting it. Is that correct? Like,
yeah, I wouldn't even consider it retrofitting. Like I almost think of it as like there were these physics all along, and I just feel it as like humanity missed the fact that there's physics. There's like this physics that holds their skeleton up, right? And that physics includes many things, but like one primary piece is the teeth, and I think it is the teeth which is the primary reason why humans age, because eventually like we grind down the teeth and we lose teeth, and every time like that happens, things collapse in. And it's not just like anytime your palate and stuff collapses in, that means your entire skull collapses in. So I just view it as, okay, like there's these physics that held up the skeleton and everything else is downstream of this collapse, and you can prevent the collapse. Which so I'm like predicting that this is going to blow out like any of these like longevity gurus out there, like, because they're all focusing on chemical. But I'm basically saying like you're not going to solve a physics problem with chemicals.
Absolutely. I believe that too, because, well, my thing is, it's alignment before anatomy. We got so many of these mega influencers pushing, obviously, products, supplements and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's biochemical, right? But if you're not able to absorb it because for me, it's like there's usually distortions or there's blockages in the body, and it's not going to go through. I don't care what quality the supplement is. It's not going to absorb. And I believe so much in the energy with the fascia, the frequencies, and the structure. So if you have structural problems, what does that look like as far as, because they talk a lot about root causes. I think that's a big root cause there. Alignment,
Yeah.
right? Alignment. So how about the people that, unfortunately, would this be able to help someone that unfortunately had to remove their teeth? How does that work for them? Did you still get the
It's not as
mouthpiece in there?
easy. It's not as easy because with this process, the teeth are moving all the time, right? So a lot of people that don't have teeth at all, they end up wearing dentures.
Yeah, the
And so
dentures.
dentures essentially like fixes the teeth position. So I think I've never had someone with dentures that is close to me, and therefore like I don't know what the rules are for someone that does dentures. I think they can get some benefit, but you would almost have to like adjust your dentures at regular intervals because the whole structure of your mouth and skull are going to change, and so the denture is not going to fit at some point. Right. And so like, we have people that are taking off retainers to do this process and they're blown away because like a week into wearing a Reviv mouth guard, their retainer like has no chance of fitting. Like the teeth have just moved.
Wow, that's true. The retainers, I didn't think of that. Retainers, so you won't need retainers because it's just going, your teeth are moving. And I could tell, we already know that because if you wore retainers and you stop wearing them, the teeth are going to move.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
then I need retainers again and yada, yada. And you go back to get a new set of retainers and they're obviously tighter because your teeth have been moving. So is that a good thing or is that just a crutch? Seems like a crutch then, basically.
So I like to think of it as like, okay, we were all designed for like a perfect skull. Like the blueprint for to my knowledge, DNA has no genetics for asymmetry and misdevelopment and stuff. So like I just feel it's like we were all designed for this perfect skull, wide arches, straight teeth. And then misdevelopment is what causes it all to go off. And so this process kind of like you're no longer reliant on the teeth, and so therefore you can move towards this perfect skull blueprint over time. And therefore like I view that, and the teeth are always going to move anytime anything in the skeleton moves. Like that's the other thing I found out, and I was checking back in the day. So you're remodeling your skeleton over time. And therefore, the teeth are moving, and that is a good thing. What I want to talk about the aligners is that, I think that they're going to, or retainers, I think they're going to figure out one day that retainers were so stupid and that the entire, industry of orthodontics is going to disappear at some point. And, I'll explain. So, retainers, one thing that I realized is the jaw needs multiple positions supported by the cusp of the teeth. So you have something called a curvaspee, there's a curvature up in how your teeth come together. And your jaw, if you put your head down, the jaw comes forward a little bit into protrusion, and then if you put your head up, it goes into retrusion. And all these different positions are supported by the cusp of the teeth. And in a healthy mouth, that support is there, right? But if you do something like braces or aligners, you screw up those other jaw positions because they only do their models based on one. Right? And so if we get back to retainers, basically what the orthodontist has done is he's artificially moved your teeth, screwed up these different bite positions. The skull is going to be collapsing in as a result, right? And the teeth are moving as a survival mechanism to prevent the further collapse of your skull. And basically like retainers, so I call them the handcuffs of the skull. It's because your skull is trying to keep itself alive and therefore move the teeth back to support these different bite positions. The retainer is preventing that from happening. And so I can tell you in our community,
Wow.
It's the people that wore their retainers after orthodontics that are in the worst shape because they just put handcuffs on and they just that means the skull and the skeleton are just gonna, and so they're often those people end up with neurological issues and other problems.
And it could be, like you said, the jaw might come off alignment. Is that something you see also with after they're done with braces and
of course.
retainers?
Because I just feel so I view it as there's this soft tissue balloon, right? Anytime you screw up how the teeth come together, this balloon's getting air taken out. And then you can think of it as there's these 27 cranial bones in this jaw that are all connected. If you study osteopathy, the cranial bones all move, connected to soft tissue sutures, kind of breathes if you read into osteopathy. The jaw is only connected to soft tissue. So if you take air out of this balloon, it's like crushing some Lego blocks. And so of course the jaw is always off. All these people that have TMJ issues in America is because, you look at their skull, if it's deflated, they're always going to have a jaw issue because the jaw is going to always be pulled off, right? And you just got to visualize this balloon with like Lego blocks sitting inside.
Yeah, we go directly to, we point at stress. Well, it's stress. We got a knot right here. I have one and an issue here, and I've had myofascial release done, and it's only temporary. It comes back, and we blame it on stress, but we don't, stop to think, well, this could be biomechanical. And now I understand why you call it biomechanical, because when we think of biomechanical, we look at movement, right? Biomechanics, and it's just a whole structure, right? Not just the neck, the whole structure. So this does it from the top down. It's a downstream effect, right? Because this deflates neck, back, vision.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Everything gets impacted. But I don't like saying it's top down. I like to say everything mirrors everything else. So I think of the soft tissue that covers the skeleton almost like a towel, right? You're not going to pull one end of the towel without changing the entire towel, right? So you can use a mouth guard to basically create this soft tissue stretch. I like to think of it as a door jam. Like you're preventing, like still gonna close your mouth, but you got something between your teeth, and so like the soft tissue covering the skull and inside your mouth are gonna stretch. That's gonna stretch all the tissue that covers the entire body, and therefore the entire body is gonna change. So that is an example of going top down, right? But you can, and I used to do this a lot. Like you can do yoga, you can work on your legs, you stretch anything in your body. So if you stretch your legs, you will then see that your teeth have moved. So that's bottom up, right? And it's you just buy some articulating paper on Amazon. You can test what I'm saying. Like if you stretch your feet, like your teeth will move or change how they come together. So I just view it as like you can go top down, you can go bottom up. They both do the same thing, but the one rule is like everything will always, like nothing happens just in your head. Nothing happens just in your mouth. Like you change something in your mouth, you're going to change something throughout the entire body. Like everything gets impacted is my general kind of experience.
What's your take on, these dentists missing this? Of course, they're not trained for this, but that's a huge gap. I mean, it's a blind spot if you ask me.
I think that, and I wrote an article about this, like I think they will consider orthodontics perhaps man's deadliest invention by the numbers. In terms of like, I think that I asked Claude, I think it estimated like 500 or 600 million people around the world have done orthodontics at this point. I'm basically saying that any kind of orthodontics, anytime you artificially move a tooth forcefully, you are inciting the collapse of that skull at some pace. Some people more rapidly than others, depending on what they did and depending the person's condition. But basically, like, we have all these stories of people with major health issues after they did their orthodontics or after they did extractions. And so, like, I literally, like, I don't see anything useful about the entire industry of orthodontics.
That's crazy how many people remove their wisdom teeth, and so that already leaves a gap there in the back, furthest back of the head. And I'm just thinking, what about root canals? Well, that's still, now you're drilling in, so that's not going to move. That becomes stationary, right?
Yeah, root canals, I'm kind of not sure. So anytime you remove a tooth or you change your occlusion, right? Like when I say occlusion, it means how your upper and lower teeth fit together. Right, so like if you just change the front teeth, you're not really changing your occlusion. Your occlusion is more or less on your like back 4 or 5 teeth, on either side, right? So some people, like, they put some veneers on the front, and they ask me if they're going to collapse. Like generally, like if you're only changing like the incisors in the front, you're not doing much harm usually. So it's
that's good to know, because there's a lot of people that do that, the front, right, the veneers.
Yeah, but if you take out teeth, that is going to cause things to collapse in. But if you do a root canal, like, it's not that you have to have all of your teeth to hold the structure of your mouth. Like you could even, like I on my son right now, he's only got, we built up 2 teeth, one fell out. So he's only got contact on a single tooth, but it's built up with composite, right? And he's improving. So I'm not saying that like you need contact. I'm just saying like if you raise vertical, keep it as a flat contact, like you will improve. And, so you'll see people missing a lot of teeth that are even, pretty old, like especially native cultures where they have really good skeletons still.
Yeah, that's amazing work you did there. Now, you mentioned it also helps breathing for those mouth breathers, especially sleeping at night. So it's going to help you go back into nasal breathing. And that's without the exercises, because I know there's a lot of techniques like the buteyko nasal breathing techniques. I know there's this guy, Patrick McKeon, who wrote a book called Oxygen Advantage, and he talks about all these different great exercises on nasal breathing. So you can return back to that, and, even sells a tape, mild tape, I think it's called, and you put it on at night and it helps the breathing. But with this mouth guard, you don't need all that, because you don't mention any exercises.
Yeah. So I generally say, like, if you stretch anything that is tight in the body, that is going to inflate this soft tissue. So things like mewing and thumb pulling, which are very popular these days, they are both a way of stretching the soft tissue. I have some stretches that I do that are a little bit similar to thumb pulling, but a bit different. And I find that that is the fastest on my body for stretching this soft tissue. What I do not believe in is this whole mouth breathing. Like, I think like airway dentists and the mews have drilled into us that mouth breathing is this awful thing. For me, I view it as mouth breathing is just like another downstream effect of this collapse. So it's like a metaphor I like to make is biomechanical collapse is like dropping a bomb on a house. Mouth breathing is like the plumbing doesn't work, right? Like the fact that you have flat feet are like the lights are out, right? Like just because the plumbing doesn't work doesn't mean that the plumbing caused the lights to be out. Like everything was downstream of this bomb that I call biomechanical collapse. And therefore, like all these people that are, taping their mouths shut without wearing a mouth guard, I don't think they're doing almost anything useful. Like, because in order for your skeleton to move, like the one rule I know for a fact is true is if your skeleton moves, your bite changes. And therefore, if your bite's not changing, you're not doing anything useful. You're like all these people doing yoga and like, yeah, they feel better for a couple of days, but then their bite hasn't changed. Like they still lock in the old position. And so they feel tight again a couple of days later because their bite hasn't changed. And it's the same thing with mouth taping, like, or mewing or whatever. Like if their bite doesn't change, like they help themselves out for a little while where they feel a little bit better and then it goes back.
Yeah, it's like going to get a massage. It's going to come back, going to feel great for a couple of days, and then you're back to square one, back to the massage.
Exactly.
Wow. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that will remove, so I'm just thinking all the benefits, structural benefits, but one of the things, I mean, in America, we have a problem with TMJ, and we don't seem to have anything to fix that. And this Reviv, which I can't wait to get my hands on because I have an issue here and I've done myofascial release, that is completely going to change it is completely changing the game, because you said there's over 300,000 people using it already.
40,000.
So you have plenty of experiments
about
out
40,000 mouth guards.
About 40,000. I mean, it's just you already have your test people there.
Yeah. And like, as I came into I like to say that I came into this game, or I look at this game, but through the TMJ angle, right? So I was looking at it like back in 2014 when I had all these issues. I was looking at it from the angle of TMJ, and I was seeing TMJ dentists, and I think that most of them are just flat out wrong. Like if you look at the TMJ subreddit, it's like a big, people are just doing horrible there, and they're seeing all the specialists spending, and like compare that to our school community of 3,000 plus people doing our method, right? Like, and like you'll see like how awful everyone's doing on our TMJ, and like how consistently everyone's doing very well, like on our school community. Like, wow, like something's different here. But my point about TMJ is like you're never going to solve TMJ by tinkering with the joint,
right?
Because TMJ is purely like this metaphor I said of like your skull. Think of the soft tissue like a balloon, right? So you took air out of the balloon, it pulled your jaw off. And so the only way you're ever going to like permanently fix TMJ is to inflate the balloon, and then the jaw just starts to go back. Like surgeries that they're doing and these different mouth guards that they have, philosophies, I think they're going to consider it all wrong. Like I literally, like I would put it out there that I think my record against TMJ already blows out any TMJ dentist out there. And I used to know most of the popular ones.
Yeah, and they don't want anyone to know this for sure, right? It'll just completely destroy that industry. So it's something that you're not going to see in the news. Now, you do have a book that you call it. I'm not sure if it's a book or a manual, but I think everyone can be a model, and that's based on because of the symmetry you're talking about, right? So your face has changed as well.
Yeah. So I'm inflating. So like every day I do my stretches. I call it the fast method, and I'm ripping through parts of my face, my scalp. Like you'll see it's all like red here. I don't know if you can tell. It's all red here. Like I rip through my scalp. My skull is literally like inflating. So when I talk about inflate, like it literally inflates, and like it inflates to the point of like ripping through the skin. And so what I had done back when I first figured out this stuff, which I consider around 2016 or 17, I took this to what I call the soft tissue end, where if I put like a tissue in here, there's a crease. And so in 16 or 17, when I did this, I got rid of that crease. When I got rid of that crease, like all the skin was breaking every day. When I got rid of that, the jaw repositioned, the neck popped back up. I felt like I got like a half-inch taller. My vision got brighter. I was gonna say. And I was in the best shape of my life. And I wasn't doing any like exercise. So like I'm planning to repeat that. And so when you hit this, what I call soft tissue end, I think that by definition, your skeleton is in the right place and your skull is in the right place. Like you're going to have almost perfect symmetry of the face. And so I think even after that, like your bone density can improve. So I'm not saying you're going to look exactly like a runway model when you do that, but you're good. I think any human is going to look very good and they're naturally going to be in very good shape if they hit that soft tissue end. But hitting that soft tissue end is a lot of work.
Okay.
So basically I'm saying like this whole like exercise diet thing, they're going to figure like you don't need it. Like all you got to do, a human, is do this biomechanical process until you hit the soft tissue end, and like you're gonna have it. By definition, everything's being alignment.
Alignment. Yep, I believe in alignment. So this is for especially women that are so into anti-aging products. You're saying because your tissue's stretching, moving, or tearing, that produces more blood flow through the skin, so you're gonna get better. So you could actually kind of like a Botox. You're getting rid of wrinkles.
Yeah, I got rid of all my wrinkles. You know, like I looked pretty old back 5 years ago when I was screwing myself up, and I'm just like I'm ripping through my tissue every day. And so what I'm saying with this, is everyone can look like a model because we all have the genetics for perfect structure. So I'm saying like we all in our genes have this perfect skeleton, right? And we always thought that things are genetic, why we don't look great or whatever. But I'm saying like, no, I don't think it is. Like I think anyone can hit this soft tissue end and the skeleton is going to be in the right place and they're almost going to look like a model. And you don't have to like worry about what you're eating or how much exercise you do.
Yeah, you don't have to go extreme doing all these optimization workout routines and spending so much millions of dollars. Actually, some people are spending in biohacking. So I can see that happening. That's crazy. So would you challenge anyone that works out extremely, because there's a lot of those? Now, when you test, well, you're obviously gonna test for everything that's changing in the body. If it's anti-aging or longevity, you're gonna win, because you're gonna see a substantial difference between someone that's, let's say they're doing a lot of peptides, but you still could see they're aging. They're beat. You could see it in their kind of in their skin. At least I'm seeing this. You could tell it's not healthy, even though they're chiseled. You could tell. You're saying even baldness. You had a bald spot back here, so that's
I had a
so
bald spot. My hair was thinning. Like it's all filled in pretty much now, and it's thick again, like when I was younger. I had these kind of wrinkles. Like my face just looked more like a raisin back 5 years ago, and it's like puffed out, right? And so the neck is not completely fixed, but even my experience from 16, 17 is that is even good. Like I'm going to get my profile completely back, and my neck is going to be longer when I'm done. So I'm not done. I'm not sure when I'm going to be done, but I am confident that I will finish, and that like I will challenge anyone. When I'm done, like I'll challenge anyone that's, I expect to hopefully be done when I'm 50 years old. Like bring on any 50-year-old. Like I will, like I like to talk about function. Right, like I am clocking about 100 hours a week, running my own business as a single employee, and we're not a small business. And my brain just functions so well. Like I'm 25 years old again, and I handle I have a ton of stress, but like it just doesn't faze me. Like neurologically, like, you're just in this good mood all the time, and I don't need even coffee. Like I haven't wanted to drink alcohol for a couple of years, so like I have a beer every 3 or 4 months. I'll be out with people wanting to drink beer, and I don't want to take myself out. Like I feel good all the time. So for me, like function is what counts. Like I have these friends, we get on call, we're kind of like part of this mastermind, and they're all about 10 years younger than me. They're taking all these, I forget what you call them, the peptides and all this. And they're talking about how like they're in bad moods and they're getting tired. I'm like, guys, I got you old by about 10 years. I work 12 to 14 hours a day for 2 years straight, haven't taken a day off, and I'm in a good mood all the time. Like, what are you messing around with your peptides for? But like, they like wearing the mouth guard like hurt them because they most of them did braces and they don't want to ruin their artificially straight teeth.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. Wow. So that's very progressive. Like one of the things that I look at is, again, the fascia and that industry where it just focuses on, obviously moving your body, right? I'm thinking myofascial release. So that could see how that they should actually look into it too. I mean, because I always think about, well, is this going to ruin someone's, business? And there's so many people doing myofascial release, especially the mouth. And I could see how just getting the mouthpiece or the mouth guard will solve the issue. How long? Oh, I got a good question. How long is this process? I know it's going to be different for everybody. For you, you're saying when you say, "Hey, by 50, which is next year, I'll be pretty much, structurally
I hope to
set."
be done. I hope to be done.
And when you're done, you mean like you still continue with maintenance, right?
Yeah, maintenance. Like I'm still, like when I finished the first time, I screwed it up so quickly that I really don't know. My guess is like maintenance is very easy. Like all you got to do to maintain is wear a mouth guard to sleep, and prevent your teeth from coming together in a locking position. So I think maintenance will be pretty easy. And what I'm saying, and this is my prediction, which I love. Like people always think I'm crazy. So I'm basically saying that there's physics that are behind the collapse of the human body and can also be reversed. And that these physics are basically the root cause of aging, almost all illness, and beauty. And that like this will go down. Right, I'm not saying I'm going to get credit. I'm saying like this knowledge will go down as probably the most impactful discovery in the history of mankind, at least in the realm of health, right? And probably all over. And I'm saying like I don't think humans have to die. Like I'm questioning that now because I don't see any real element of aging. If aging actually existed, like I'd say, okay, like I'm getting better these last 5 years across almost every dynamic, but this part is still aging. But like that, so 5 years is too short to say, okay, humans never have to die. But like, I have a bit of a biology background because I studied natural sciences when I was in college and stuff, and I enjoyed reading that stuff. And like a lot of longevity experts, like Kurzweil and all these people, like they kind of come to the same conclusion that they don't see anything in the human body, like cells don't have, like nothing has to kill us. And I have a feeling like they're going to figure out the only reason we are dying is because of this physical collapse that can be prevented.
Amazing. That's a bold statement right there.
Yeah, I know. I like, people are going to call me crazy. And then like, I just want, like, I'm going to point back at these videos 10 years from now.
There you go.
Who was saying it first?
Yeah, I like real world evidence or real world science where you're actually seeing people improve, right? And I see that or just thriving. So I see that with the long living cultures where they're thriving and they're totally ignoring everything, in the biohack or longevity industries with supplements and crazy workouts and diets. They have no clue what's going on in those areas and they're thriving. Now, one thing I like to know is where do we get this mouth guard called Reviv for our audience to find out? Is it available in America? Is it available all over the world? Because I have people, my audience is all over the world.
Yeah, so it's all over the world, but it's available on our website, www.getreviv.com, and it's on Amazon. And one thing I want to say, and I need to say this because we're an FDA registered mouth guard, is I'm not attributing any of these claims to my mouth guard. You could wear any flat mouth guard. Right, I'm like everything I've said today, I'm attributing to what I call dental biomechanics, which is the importance of teeth to the structure of the human skeleton. You could basically achieve everything I'm saying even without a mouth guard. Like you could put a flat pencil between your teeth, and if you keep it there 24/7, you will experience the same things that I'm saying. Right, so I just like being clear. Like there's nothing magical about my mouth guard. There's similar flat mouth guards like Tooth Pillow, My Brace that are available through dentists and have been around for like a lot longer than we have. Right. But like they never made these conclusions because they still have some of the wrong ideas. Is
right.
what I figured.
Yeah, I could see. Okay, great. So that's why you did a do it yourself. You were practicing with what kind of synthetic materials, silicone materials, and right?
Yeah, back in the day, I was making my own dental splints out of acrylic resin. Like you're mixing. I forget what they call it, but it's horrible smell. And I was testing different stuff, and I was saying, okay, like. Does the occlusion, because I would have to find like what is the correct human occlusion, because I'd messed my occlusion up with these dentists, and I was like make these different splints, and I'd hold my jaw forward, and I'd hold my jaw to the side, and hold my jaw back. I'd say, okay, what if I only have contact on my right side? What if I only have contact on my left? Is it gonna like tip over? And I figured it doesn't. Like you can have contact on contact on any single tooth, and this whole inflating process happens anyway. So I was like a madman. People thought I was crazy. And like even my parents, my friends, like it was a lonely world for about 7 years there. But
yeah.
Like I don't know of anyone my age that functions the way I do now.
Yeah, that's awesome to know. Now, what's the best time to wear these mouth guards when you start? From what you've noticed, is it night only or?
Like we generally say wear it at night and then 2 to 3 hours during the day. Like try to wear it before you go to sleep a little bit too. But we also have a daytime guard, and there's other daytime that we don't sell that we recommend to folks, like placards and stuff. So it's good if you can to wear something almost 24/7 until your bite unlocks. And when I mean bite unlocks, it means like your upper and lower teeth no longer come together in that fixed position, which dentists go crazy. Dentists, like, they always want your bite to lock perfectly.
Right.
And they think it's awful the minute you have a little bit of an open bite. Like, and actually with our method, you're actually, like, a lot of people are going to get a small posterior open bite early on because you're improving the curve of spee, and often like the jaw will come forward a little. So instead of your upper teeth coming over, like they'll come edge to edge often. And so if you come edge to edge, you'll often have a small posterior open bite, and we consider that good because now if you're edge to edge, all the teeth can move. So I don't know if I answered your question. Sorry.
No, I mean, yeah, it's just making sense. That's exactly what I wanted to find out. There's going to be different, I'm thinking, protocols for everyone. You just got to figure it out what's working best for you, right?
Yeah, but the protocols, the core is always the same. Put something flat between your teeth. It could be a mouth guard. During the day, like a lot of people go to the office, whatever, they can't wear a flat mouth guard. And so we have something we call clip-ons that are pretty subtle. You can just wear them on one side in the back. A lot of people do that. So there's a lot of options, but we teach people the logic. We teach people that, like, they don't need our mouth guard, right? And so we try to be honest and transparent about everything. Like, I would challenge, like, who else out there has a medical record that comes close to ours? Like, a documented, right? Like, I have 4,000 something journals. We've got a community of just, like, you just say boom, 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 boom. Like, people coming out of stuff that was bothering 10, 20 years. Like, does Brian Johnson or any of these guys, like, I doubt it.
Yeah. Well, he's a lab rat. It's a different story there.
And he did for years, actually.
I call him a cyborg already. So yeah, no, that's not and I tell people that's not a good role model for real life, real living. So the best sign that someone's jaw is affected when you see it, how do you actually just see someone and say, okay, you don't have movement, or your jaw's affecting the whole structure? I hear people say that it's usually wider, it's supposed to be wider, or you can see the face caving in like a cone here. Can you tell?
So one thing I like to say is the body compensates and uncompensates in very complex ways, right? So I find it hard to attach any hard and fast rule about, like, okay, if your jaw is like this, you have a problem or whatever. Because there's, like, this skeleton of ours, which has many moving parts, like, can collapse in so many different ways. And so that is why so many different people have so many different types of problems. And so even, like, as they're improving with this process, the way it impacts people is, like, it's very, it's very individual. Like, I can never predict, okay, you're gonna be able to do this it's gonna be like this for 2 months, and it's gonna be like I can, it's all over the map is what I'm seeing. So what I generally look for is, like, I don't look for a specific jaw position. I look for how inflated does that person's skull look, right? Like, and I just, like, I don't even know how to define that. Like, my eyes just see it, right? Like, my skull is pretty inflated. It's almost like someone put air in. And so generally what I see is, like, their face and their skull looks like the complexion looks good. It looks a little bit shinier. And, like, you'll see a lot of, like, your best young top athletes have this kind of inflated look to their skull, like a young Michael Jordan or a young LeBron. That is, like, when I see that, okay, like, oh yeah, their skull's very inflated. Generally, like, things are going to function very well, and they won't. So, but sometimes they'll have a little bit of a shorter profile or long side. Like, I never, like, say, okay, your jaw's got to be in a certain position.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's going to be different. Wow. Okay. That's a new name for alignment there, the biomechanics. And I can't say it starts from here, but the best way to describe it is what you say is the balloon. It's like a balloon. Yeah. Inflate it. Keep it straight, kind of like a volleyball, like when you're playing with a volleyball and it's perfectly inflated. It just even feels good when you hit it. And you see, you have a little deflation and it changes the whole ball, that's amazing. Yeah. There is people out there online teaching techniques with their thumbs up into the palate. Is that something you also do?
So we have a lot of people in our community that do this thumb pulling, right? Like Oscar Patel, and we've got 2 creators that promote our brand, Cranium Artist and Muology, and there's also another guy, biomechanics, who are all thumb pullers, and they do other things. And so I generally view it as like thumb pulling is effective at stretching the soft tissue and inflating. It's not something I personally do. I have 10 years. I think I was first doing what I call my fast method, which is a little bit different, but it is happening in this area. I do that instead. It's a little bit different from thumb pulling, and I find that to be faster on me. But like a lot of people in the community do thumb pulling, and I do view it as like an effective way to accelerate this process.
Okay, good. Let me ask you. So, what would be a good piece of advice for a kid? Let's say they're growing still, a 13, 14, 15-year-old kid. Where to start? Do they do that type of exercise, or go with the mouth guard right away?
I think go with the mouth guard at 13 or 14. When you're younger, like I even think from 3 years old, put the flat composite on. In the US, some dentists do it. It's called primary molar buildups. That is what I've had on my kid for 5 years, and it fixed everything. And some kids don't. It's hard for young kids to get them to wear a mouth guard to sleep. But yeah, for like teenagers, like wear a flat mouth guard, do the thumb pulling, or also like do exercise. Make sure you unlock the bite, right? Unlocking the bite is like the first step, and stay away from any kind of orthodontics or extractions. We have so many stories, and we've done a couple podcast interviews too of people where they did the orthodontics in their early teens, and they never became normal adults. Like they were diagnosed with ADHD, and they had like often like depression and these kind of things, and they started going on the serotonin repressor. Like I'm not too familiar with it. But like, and they're like living with their parents till mid-30s, and they can't really they've never really been able to hold a normal job down. And like this, like I'm so curious when they finally when the world realizes what I'm saying is actually accurate, and they go and they find all these kids and like what orthodontics has done, and how much damage, how much economic damage it's done. Like it's gonna be crazy. Like it is destroying lives at a level that is going to make like wars look foolish.
That's how many lives because you're getting affected physically, mentally, emotionally,
cognitively, emotionally. It collapses everything. Your skull is crushing down on your brain. Your like I have been in and out of this. That's how I started putting together the patterns of how this connects to neurology, cognitive function. Because I turned myself back into this kind of hermit, like really poor thinker, and then got out of it, and then went in, and I did like 4 or 5 times over 10 years, and now I'm like I figured out how to avoid it now. But I just see like I was 2 different people. Like there was very little that was in common between the collapsed me and the inflated me. Like you would have saw 2 very different Kens. This one was like very confident, talkative, was bold. And this one just wanted to shy away from people and like how to survive.
Yeah, that's crazy. Crazy how just one thing like that. I mean, I'm still in shock on how easy it sounds. I know you say it's not that easy though, because it does take a while. You have to be patient as well, right? But
the rules are easy, but the process is kind of hard.
Right.
Especially the more damaged you are.
That's
like
correct.
Someone that's older and has a lot of health issues, like this is going to be a process. I am fast. I consider myself much faster than anyone I've seen in our community. Right? Like some people think that they're faster than me. Like the reality is like I can like rip through my face and skull every day. So I think I'm still a lot faster than most people. And I'm in my 5th year. Right. And I had I was in pretty bad shape then, but I was in pretty good shape when I started. And therefore, like when I first hit the end, I like to think like it only took like a year or so. I don't remember exactly. So like your starting point makes a massive difference, So my skeleton and my spine were in much better shape the first time. And that like by 2020, I'd really screwed it up again, and it's taken a lot longer. But like, yeah, be ready for years. But the good thing is like you're getting better though.
Yeah. So then what would you say to a 50-year-old or even a 60-year-old? Is that still good for them, even though it's going to be probably harder, right?
It might be a little harder early on, but like a lot of them like really enjoy it. They take it at their own pace. But like when you know that tomorrow is going to be better than today, and you didn't even really have to put in much effort, like that's addictive. And so, yeah, the process takes a long time, but like I'm saying, what I'm saying is right. Like, okay, like tomorrow's better than today. It's not a lot of work. You can start, as you get improved, you're going to be able to take on more and more and what you want to do. And then maybe there's no clock. Like even if you're 60, like maybe in the future, people are going to operate like they're 30 years old at 100, 120. Like from what I've seen in the last 5 years, like I wouldn't be surprised, right?
Yeah. I mean, things are changing. I mean, I know we're going through a lot of also negative, implementations in the world. So people with chronic issues, this could actually help them wake up too, because if you're going to help this inflation, then it's going to help your prefrontal cortex. You're going to think better, and that might help you make better decisions as far as also your health. So, or being aware, because one thing we want to do right now is be more aware of what's going on in our surroundings. All the environmental toxins in the air and all that. That's another thing. That's another protective layer we have to build as well. So this actually gives you, I guess, better intelligence.
Better intelligence, and I think it gives you an immune system that is just like, I think I have so much respect for my body and my immune system now. I live in Bangkok. People
Okay.
around me are telling me about the pollution and
Yes.
like how it's not the healthiest lifestyle, and I'm a person who literally gets no exercise, and like I don't feel it. Like I don't care whether there's pollution. Like I think I'm just getting healthier, and people tell me about like, oh, like don't eat this kind of food, that kind of like I pay zero attention to like any of that stuff, and I'm only getting healthier. And I just think I have a feeling our bodies were built extremely hardy. But you do need to put the biomechanics back in place. So, like all the rules that people come up with, like, oh, you got to stay away from this, you got to stay away from this. I completely agree with that when you're in a situation where you're collapsing. But when you're in a situation like I am, where you're like improving and inflating for a certain amount, my conclusion is like, I don't feel it. Like, you might say that like diet, this, that, bad pollution, like it's gonna hurt me. I don't see it in how I'm like improving.
And you can feel that just on a daily basis. So joint pain gone.
Nothing. Like I have nothing. I gave up medical insurance. Like I was pretty confident 2 or 3 years ago. I'm like, I kind of concluded like everything they do in the hospital, this allopathy, like surgery, like if it's a physics problem and this is how you solve the physics, then like the only thing a hospital is good for is like accidents and things, right? So I bought accident insurance because I drive a motorbike, blah blah. But I got rid of medical insurance, and you don't have to have it in Thailand. Because I don't consider anything that they do in that hospital useful for chronic conditions. So that's how I plan to live, like from now on. Like I just all these pharmaceuticals and surgeries, and my dad, like they convinced my dad to get hip surgery a little recently. I was like, Dad, just wear the damn mouth guard, you'll be better. They convinced him to do the hip surgery. Yeah, I just think
that would put out the orthopedic surgery business. That was.
I think if I'm right, this is going to, like, in the 10 to 20 year time horizon, like I'm saying, this is going to take 80% of pharma down. This is going to like put 70% of the medical system into the garbage. One metaphor I like, or one thing I like to explain. I used to live in Russia and Ukraine almost 10 years. I first arrived in Russia in 2006. Their medical system then was very like cheap, public mostly. And it was free to go to the public medical system. And it wasn't even like, so it was free medical care. And there were like in the places that I used to go to, there was no line. Coming from America, where everyone was falling apart, and like you had to have insurance, it's very expensive, and everything. Like, all of a sudden, like it's free, and there's not even really a line, but like the facilities are really crap. But I was like, where is everyone? Like, why? And it's because back in 2006, biomechanically, like Russians were pretty healthy, right? You could say the same of China like 20, 30 years ago. Now they're getting worse a lot faster, and they've got all our crappy orthodontics and all that. But like they don't understand like. 30 years ago, countries like Russia, like the reason why all the women were beautiful and the guys were really strong was because the biomechanics were correct. I spent some time in China, and like there would be like these old women that were like 70 years old. And man, they were so loud and energetic, and like I was like, shut up. like they're like so loud in the airport in China. But like you realize like that generation was so biomechanically healthy.
Yeah, I can see that. And now it starts with the structure. Again, I don't want to say like at first I did mention from the top down, but no, it's the complete structure, because you have guys out there like, there's functional patterns that focus on only doing movements that are going to help correct your posture, right? The whole alignment, but they don't look into the smaller piece, which is the mouth. But then it's more than the mouth, the jaw, the head. So it's amazing how your curiosity kept kicking in. This is one of the things that stands out in this talk with you is, your journey. You're pretty much providing a masterclass on how to stay curious, keep trying until you figure something out. And then surprisingly, here's this that, like you say, and you're passionate about it, this could change the entire, industry. It could collapse pharmaceutical, which would be a great thing for all of us, because I believe it's nothing but poisoning us. It will collapse all the, cosmetic surgeries that happen. It's fascinating. So it's good that I got you on here so we could spread the word, because we need to focus more on, I guess, the small things And it's not expensive. Like you said, you're not here to sell just your mouth guard. You could do it yourself, like you're saying.
Yeah. You can get a mouth guard for like $5, $10 in your local pharmacy, one of those anti-bruxism ones. They work too, you know? So, and it's like, I think the impact is going to be very big. And I think the cat's out of the bag. Like, you got a lot of people that are now doing Reviv for 6 months, a year, even longer. And like, the stuff I'm saying to you today no longer sounds crazy to them. And like, the number of those people is increasing very quickly. And the thing that is typically common to these people, like, they got their parents on it. They got their like best, you know, closest family members. So I think, you know, that this thing is going to be impactful.
Yeah, amazing. So where could listeners find your work? Because I know you do. Do you have Substack? I know you do newsletters. Where can they find your work if they want to look deeper into what you've
I
been
think
doing?
the best place is I do have a Substack, which is where everything started, even before we had a business. You can find the Substack on biomechanics.com. So I usually send about one a week these days. And other thing I just want to say is, like, as you read the stuff I'm saying, like, I think it's important to point out, like, I consider myself a very logical person, right? Like, I approached everything from logic. Like, I was journaling and writing down all my thoughts, my hypotheses, and then testing them. And you know, it's the way I run my business. I run my business. You know, we're a pretty big business now. I have about 20 freelancers that report into me, and I manage them all myself because I'm very structured and I'm very logical. Like, if you met me, like, that is the one thing you take away that can. And so read what I'm saying from that perspective of, this is a person that went, okay, here's my hypothesis. How do I logically test it, right? And like, I basically said, okay, I'm going to consider all these dentists idiots. I think they're like, I'm not going to consider anything they say correct. And I'm going to come up with the rules purely based on logic. And that's how I came up with, like, okay, there's a curve of Spee. The jaw needs multiple positions because I was testing it on myself. And so just read what I'm saying from that lens of, okay, do I agree with the logic? And does the logic make sense? And is the logic playing out with the thousands of people that are, you know, writing about it in their community? And that's where I think, like, you know, you'll figure out, like, this is not some BS.
Yeah, and then I'm going to also share your Instagram so they can go in there, because I believe from there you do have links to the product and to your Substack. Great. Good information. Well, people, here it is. You know, if, Ken shared today something that resonated with you, especially waking you up with the jaw tension issues, the neck tightness, or, you know, you feel like you're aging faster than you should, I'd really encourage you to check out Ken's work. Like he said, it's not just his mouthpiece or mouth guard, which is called Reviv, but it's the science behind it, right? And I would say, you know, try it for yourself. If you're skeptical, try it for yourself. I'm certainly going to do it myself, you know, and go from there. So, Ken, do you have any last words you want to tell our audience?
No, just try it yourself and start easy, work your way up. Like, you don't have to sleep with it right away. And expect it to be hard. It might be easier for some folks, but expect it to be hard. So don't take away from this that I'm saying it's going to be a walk in the park. It's not, you know, like, things might hurt. So go in expecting it to be hard. That would be my last piece of advice.
Right, because nothing hard or nothing was the same. Nothing good comes easy.
Yeah,
I think that's the same, right? We'll say nothing hard comes easy. No, nothing good comes easy. Yeah, definitely. Listen to our audience. If, you know, this episode made you curious, think about what this could mean for you, then, hey, become a more of a critical thinker instead of a skeptic. Give it a shot. I'm certainly going to, like I said, I'm certainly going to do it. It's very important to take action instead of just staying there static, like, oh, no, it's too late for me. I'm not going to do it. No, give it a shot. This is why I brought Ken on here. It's amazing the work he's done. And I guess, can we say you stumbled upon this? Because you basically went to the dentist once and you stumbled upon this, right?
Yeah, I almost, like, I like to say, like, I was forced to figure this out to save my own life. Like, I don't want to know, like this dentist drilled on my black teeth. I was brain dead for 6 months almost. Like, I didn't function. I was thinking about, like, how do I, like, maybe I'm going to have to work at McDonald's as the fry guy. Like, that was my future if I didn't figure out how this thing worked.
Yeah, that's crazy. So yeah, anyway, just share it with someone who you think will love to hear this. And remember that, I mean, the goal isn't to agree with Ken or anyone on anything. It's just going in there and doing the work yourself so you could find out if this is going to help for you. That's why, like I always say, aging isn't the problem. It's aging without the intention that's the problem. And when nothing's forced, everything unfolds with intention. So let's give it a shot. Thank you so much for joining us here. I appreciate you spending your time with us here, Ken, and definitely looking forward to seeing more and more of your work come out. We're right behind you, supporting you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Peace.